And my menstrual cycle came on, and then it was super irregular.
Mm.
Consequently, it led to me finding out I had a pituitary tumor. I have a prolactinoma. Uh,
Mm.
because I have a pituitary tumor, it made me not have a period for 1 month and 6 months. And my mom was really persistent, and that's how I got diagnosed at a super young age. The Surgeon General said that being a parent is a health hazard.
Mm. Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not. The Surgeon General just said that being a parent is a risk to your health.
So you had this tumor that was making the pituitary not signal properly, probably,
Over
right?
signaling. So I have a
Over signaling.
prolactinoma, which makes me
Mm.
overproduce prolactin. So
Okay.
prolactin is a hormone that most people know it in regards to pregnancy. It's what turns
Mm.
off our menstrual cycle when we become pregnant. And it's
Ah.
also what helps us produce milk for the child. So I had breast milk at 12 years old and not pregnant.
Welcome back, gentle listeners. You are now tuned in to another episode of Kushae Chronicles. I am your host, Kimba, the Natural Diva, and I am deliciously proud to introduce our next fabulous guest, Ms. Nzinga, founder of Yes Baby, I Like It Raw. We already got things to talk about. Hey, Nzinga, thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely. That title alone, I'm like, what are we talking about? Okay, we need
I know it's
to.
a hook.
This is
It's a hook.
Yes, we like it raw, baby. And this is Kushae Chronicles. I don't know. You got suspects out here. All right, so we're going to start this episode off with your Kushae catastrophe. So, for those of you who are just joining us, obviously the Kushae is your coochie, aka vagina, your vulva, all of your intimate bits as a woman. And we ask our beautiful guests, regardless of the walks of life that they come from, to share a couche catastrophe. Because if you are a lady, you have a couche and you have definitely had a catastrophe. So, my darling, thank you so much for joining us. And what is your couche catastrophe?
Oh, the year was 1990 something.
Oh, bring it back.
Dating myself. So all of my so in elementary school, like fourth and fifth grade, all of my peers were having the menstrual cycle, and I felt left out.
Wow.
If I could be quite frank, like I wanted to have a
Mm.
period. Like that means they're like getting older, things like that. I know some people are like who wanted to have a period. I wanted to have a period.
Of course, because you're like, I'm grown, grown, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, it wasn't about being grown. I just wanted to feel attuned to my peers, like the girls that I looked up
Mm,
to and things like that.
yes.
And so was just like waiting for it to happen, and it wasn't happening. And back in the day, they don't necessarily do that now. They used to mail out samples. They used to mail out
Mm.
samples for maxi pads. They would mail out samples for tampons, and I decided to collect those things so for my own use. But I got impatient. My period wasn't coming, and I was just like, "Oh yeah, let me wear a pad for a day so I can feel what it feels like to have a period." Only a 10-year-old and 11-year-old would think that that would like connect them with the
Help.
experience. That's not what a period feels like, just having a pad on, right? Like,
Live at all.
okay. And then I was like, when they sent the sample for the tampon, I was just like, oh, let me try this tampon. Um, Complete disaster, I must say. Like I don't know if anyone's tried to put a tampon not on their period, but that blood offers some lubrication and all the,
Hello.
so I was just like trying to get it in there and was letting it in there for the whole day, of course, without the adults around me knowing. And what I realize now is it led to my first yeast infection,
Wow.
which was a complete disaster for me because I was just like, what's going on? It's like an itch that keeps on giving.
Right,
In the
exactly.
shower
Did you
a
finally talk to your mom?
lot. So I did. I told my mom, like, after, like, I thought I could shower it away, but
Hmm.
it wasn't going away.
Right.
And eventually I was like, Mom, something is wrong. Now, let me say this. it wasn't until a few months ago I made the connection between that yeast infection and me trying out pads and tampons before my time.
Oh, really? Okay, so it's
So
been
I
years,
thought
20 something
they were
years.
disconnected, but then I was like, no, like you were putting on tampons, like you was on your,
Without a period. Right? Oh,
you
poor
know. And
baby.
so I tell my mom, and she was like, "Oh, it's because you're not cleaning yourself very good." And I was just like,
No.
in my mind, I was like showering more because of the itch, because I was just trying to get up in there and like get rid of,
Right.
And I was like, and then I told her again, and she's like, "Oh, you're just not cleaning well enough." And I'm just like, I was suffering for months with this.
Oh no. So she wasn't really even acknowledged. First of all, shout out to the Haitian moms because you the accent you nailed. Sock passe, come on, Zone Nation, Haitian moms, what's up?
Yeah,
But
nah, like, so, and my period came, but I was still navigating. My period did come, but I was now navigating a yeast infection
oh shit, yeah.
for months. It might have been a year. Like, so I was in constant discomfort as a result
Yes.
because that area gets super inflamed. And my menstrual cycle came on and then it was super irregular.
Mm.
Consequently, it led to me finding out I had a pituitary tumor. I have a prolactinoma. Um,
Mm.
because I have a pituitary tumor, it made me not have a period for 1 month and 6 months. And my mom was really persistent. And that's how I got diagnosed at a super young age, because that's not normally what happens with.
Right. How old were you at the time when you got
I was
diagnosed?
12.
Wow. Now, for those of you who don't remember, the pituitary gland manages the hormones.
Yes.
And so it's hormone regulation that manages your period. It's
Super
the
regular.
estrogens and the progesterones and exact girl, I nerd out on stuff like this. But some people don't know the connection between the pituitary and what's actually happening in your menstrual life. So, okay, makes sense. So you had this tumor that was making the pituitary not signal properly, probably,
Over
right?
signaling. So I have a
Over signaling.
prolactinoma, which makes me
Hmm.
overproduce prolactin. So
Okay.
prolactin is a hormone that most people know it in regards to pregnancy. It's what turns
Mm.
off our menstrual cycle when we become pregnant. And it's
Uh,
also what helps us produce milk for the child. So I had breast milk
yeah.
and
Thank God.
huh?
I said, thank God for that, because that's, liquid gold.
Yeah, but at 12 years old and not pregnant.
Oh wait, oh wait, oh wait, wait. Now listen, I'm thinking okay for your baby, but we back into 12-year-old.
Yeah,
Lord have
I had
mercy.
breast milk, like
Okay,
squeeze.
that's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. So because
Oh
it's
my gosh.
hormonal, they and my numbers were off scale. Like normally you want your
Mm,
numbers to be like 12, maybe 15. I was 1200.
mhm.
Um and so with my numbers being that high, they were like,
Yeah.
that has to be an adenoma, which is a tumor that is not cancerous. So it's not malignant, it's benign. So then we
Okay.
did the scan of my brain. So pituitary gland, for those who don't know, is in your brain. Um,
Hmm.
it kind of intersects here, like if my hands could go through my head.
Together, right? It's like in the middle, almost like in the depths.
If you touch the upper palate and there's that like bump there, that's where it
Mm, mm.
sits. For those who like the nerdy people.
Oh, that's me. So it's right above the bump.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Uh huh.
So listen, I just had a really weird thought about oral sex and the bump, but we're gonna get back to that.
Yes.
Like, ladies, y'all got these dudes bumping on your
No,
pituitary.
it's
Like, what's
not
really
only
going on?
it's encapsulated. It's actually a really hard. It's really protective because of its function, which is
I'm
why
sure.
surgery for that space is very precarious. Um,
I imagine. But do they go through the roof of your mouth?
they go through here. So
Ah.
it's a high risk surgery because your optic nerve also sits there.
Oof.
Um, so there's a risk for stroke, um, blindness,
Of
and
course.
all other types of things. So typically, unless they really have to, they're going to do intervention by way of prescriptions
Mm.
as a form of intervention. But
Right.
because of that, I was also sent to a gynecologist because it's hormonal,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And they saw some other numbers that were off. And so I had my first pap smear because of this at
Wow.
12. And so my mom's in the room, the doctor's in there, doing his thing, and I'm
Right.
comfortable. And he's like, "Oh, it looks like she has a yeast infection." And I was like, in my heart, I was like, "Oh, this."
Thank God. Oh my gosh.
Here goes my mom. Does that mean she's not a virgin? I was like,
You're like, lady, give me a break.
yeah. And he was like, "She's still a virgin. That has
Oh my
nothing to do
God.
with that." Then
Mm.
I received medication for it.
Okay.
But I think because of how long I went with the yeast infection, I'm hypersensitive to any changes vaginally.
Yeah.
I remember I was with my gynecologist for a very long time, for over 10
Mm.
years. And I remember
Right.
coming to him like, I think I have a yeast infection. And he was like, we're friends now. He's like, oh, I thought it was going to be a war zone. This is nothing. That's how comfortable we got.
I guess.
It's
'Cause
like,
I'm like, are you seeing war zones out here? Like, what's really
I
going
see, this is nothing. I'm just gonna give you a prescription whenever you feel it's coming. Here you go. So that's,
But I'm nervous because I'm like, what are the war zones he's got going on
I
that he's
don't
seeing every
know.
day?
I probably had a war zone with my first with my first yeast infection, because it
Oh, I'm
went
sure because it's just
so long.
so
Like, I
long.
had so much, and I'm just gonna give the team. I had
Ugh.
so much discharge, and it was
Yeah.
burning. It was just not a good feeling.
Right. It burns, it itches,
Yeah,
it's
and
cottage
yeah, and
cheesy.
it's
It's
just
just
my labia and all of those things are super sensitive. And I was a
irritated.
kid, I didn't
Yeah.
know, so I was trying to itch, but like I said, it's an itch that you can't ever. It's like inside.
Satiate.
You can't,
Exactly.
you know. Um.
Oh,
So that's
girl, I am so
interesting.
sorry. And part of that is because we're not having conversations. Well, many generations of mothers, aunties, sisters were not having those conversations. And they almost equated, you know, intimate health or reproductive health, feminine health, whatever you want to call it, with sex.
Yes.
And that just wasn't what it was. It was like, I have this organ that I kind of need to know about. And it's not because I want to go have somebody stick a penis in it. It's because I need to understand how to take care of it.
And
And
like, I was hyper aware of the lack of information I was receiving,
mhm.
because of my religious upbringing. Like, the church was like, so I grew up Seventh Day Adventist, and we used to
Okay.
have this thing called AY. 7 Day Adventists will know what AY is. It's like in the afternoon after church on the Saturday, and it's a very informative thing. We have health message stuff going on and
Mm.
other things. And so I was going to this Haitian church, and they came, and this lady came, and she was like, "Don't let your children go to sex ed because they're going to teach them about sex." You know, they're not
Oh,
gonna have sex, and you shouldn't let them go to sex ed. So I was the only child amongst my classmates who were not, who wasn't. I walked out. I had to be removed from the room when they were doing sex ed.
oh no. And so now you feel like my peers are getting it, but I'm in the principal's
And
office or
yeah,
whatever.
they threw me in the library. I love the library, but you know what?
Okay.
I think that's also why I was like trying to use the pads and things, because that was also
Mm.
during that period of time where um I thought they had access, not just like their bodies were showing up before minds in a
Right.
different kind of way. They were also getting access to that information. And so what I started to do is go to the library and check out books.
Mm.
And so that, I think, because I was self-taught and I was a nerd, I actually know more than a lot of my peers who didn't do
Yeah.
sex ed.
Right. Right. Oh yeah, sex ed doesn't teach you jack. It
And I
teaches
don't
you
know what sex ed
anatomy.
is like, because I never experienced it because I wasn't allowed to, because there was this
Right.
promiscuity and loss of virginity and all of these things that
It's nothing like that. I'm going to tell you right now, real quick. It's just anatomy. It's literally like, here's what your ovaries, where they are. Here's the uterus. Here's your vagina, the
I have
vulva.
friends who
This
did
is
that
what
and
happens.
they didn't know where their clit was.
Oh no, they don't tell you. They don't tell you about the clit.
Say that. I'm like,
They don't tell you about the clit. No, ma'am. This is the uterus, ovaries, fallopian tubes. This is why you get menses. This is what's happening. This is the lining. It's draining. This is how you get pregnant. End of story. That was it. And this is what's happening to the boys. They give you a little bit of a shot, a glimpse of this is what's happening to the boys of your age, that they have a penis and they have a scrotum. It was literally just anatomy 101. Did not talk about
no, but
clitoris and G spots
those
and
Haitians was like, y'all fait petit tout connaît qui j'en pour y'all fait sex, you know.
and I don't understand Creole, but I know that shit was like,
Yeah,
don't
they
do
were like,
it.
it's gonna make your children learn how to have sex. And the Haitians was like, oh hell no, not my
They was like,
in the name
now my
of
kid.
Jesus, I rebuke it. Like, and I mean like my sex talk was so it was so driven, like when I
Yeah,
those things, those seeds that were planted, the deepest sex talk I had was a boy is going to get you pregnant and leave you,
yeah.
you know.
Oh, damn, and leave
Yeah,
you.
that was
Wow,
that was the conversation. I clearly remember the conversation. Uh,
wow.
and so, but then like now I am here in my 40s, it's just like let go of like school, let go of like, because there's a thing like you should get married, then you have children, or go to
Right.
school first, get married, blah blah blah. And now here I am, a woman in my 40s, unmarried, no
Mhm.
children. Then they're like, fuck all that shit, excuse my language, go get pregnant,
No,
you don't even have to be with a
right.
guy, we'll help you. And I'm like, I'm not signing up to be nobody's baby mama. I'm not signing
Hello?
to be a single mom because I know what that looks like intimately by way of my friends. And I don't care
Yeah,
what anybody says. That shit ain't easy.
at all. At all. It's the hardest job. I don't give a damn what nobody says.
It's
The hardest job.
it's so hard. And people claim they're gonna show up, but the times that you need people the most, I work as a doula and I know it. People aren't there and we don't have
No.
community like we used to, like,
Right.
so people have to really pay for help. People are
Yeah.
showing up like they did in the past, not in the way that I know of as a child. And so the
Right.
idea of signing up to just have somebody's baby and then depend on my old parents who are not, like a lot of my peers are like, my parents can't even show up in the way that my grandparents showed up.
Exactly. Your parents are like, they got their own lives. They're like, I'm not, that's not what I'm trying to do right now. You know what I mean?
Now, if they have their own lives, because a lot of our parents have also compromised health situation
That's true.
that has not
That's true.
that allows they can barely take care of themselves.
Selves, that's true.
And they're like, yo,
Oh,
so what's up with the baby? And I think that's my biggest gripe right now with society in general.
mm,
It's not just a Haitian thing or a black thing, in this world that we exist in. It doesn't matter what you accomplish as a woman if your value is attributed to association, being associated
yeah.
with a man and
Mm-hmm.
produced by way of children. And so
Yep.
you can have all the success as an entrepreneur, you can have all the success in terms of like your education, but that doesn't matter. I remember explicitly one day these people were like, "Oh my gosh, you're so talented," and da 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 da.
Mm,
And this
yep.
woman was like, "Whatever, she don't have no man." It was just like,
So that negates the fact that I'm smart and beautiful and talented and all the things because I don't have no man. So basically, you need a man to validate you. But
that
that is so
the
backwards.
unspoken thing that's said in this society.
Basically,
Like I have no value. Those things are cute, but they mean nothing if I'm not tied to a man.
exactly. I saw something on Instagram the other day that talked about a woman's title changes from Miss to Mrs. to then Ms. if she's divorced or she's older and doesn't have a man, whereas a man's title never changes because society, to your point, attributes who we are with who we're attached to, whether we're attached or not. And so now I'm in a different boat. I just recently got divorced, And so I'm like, why do I have, that's a whole title. Like, it's like single, married, divorced. I'm just like, why can't I just be single?
I know,
You know what I
right?
mean? Like, I don't get it. Why is that a whole category that y'all got to understand and know about? So it's weird. It really is. And but kudos to you, because growing up not doing the things that traditionally our parents expected us to do was weird. Like not having a family, not getting married. They would have been like, "Are you crazy?" And now I'm finding that so many women who are 30s, early 40s are like, I'm just doing what makes sense for me, and I'm not forcing it. And if I don't find my partner, if I don't find my person, so be it. You know what I mean? And I think y'all are so brave, because I think I grew up sort of brainwashed into thinking that was what you had to do. And that's fine. I wanted a family. I have children, the whole nine, but now I'm divorced, right? And so life looks different. They don't tell you they want you to divorce, but that's real in this generation. Not for them. They tend to stay together whether they wanted to or not. But I think we're also feeling more empowered to leave.
See,
So I think we're just feeling empowered to either do the damn thing or leave the damn thing. You know what
I
I
agree.
mean? Yeah.
I
So
but I also know that I have a lot of friends who fell to the pressure, you know,
yeah.
my who got married like in their 20s and things like that because they were either
Mm,
pregnant or they wanted to make their family happy, and a lot of
yeah.
those relationships are not viable, and
They're not. You didn't even know what the hell you wanted. It's like, who were you? You don't know. You're a kid. I got married at 27 years old. I had already had a baby. So at 26, I had my first job. 27, I got married to his father, which is fine. We ended up being married for almost 20 years. And so we hung in there and we had more kids and we did the damn thing and we tried to make it work. And it was great while it was great. And then it wasn't when it wasn't. And so we lasted much longer than most, but still, I just, what if I knew then, people say this all the time, if I knew then what I know now, I probably wouldn't have gotten married.
mm,
And so but you live, you learn, like literally. And I hate to sound cliche, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? So I just, for the people who are on the fence, just give yourself time. You have time. Give yourself, for the most part, you have
yeah,
time.
and I also like
You know?
see a lot of women now who are, I feel like they are, how do I phrase it? They're falling to the pressure, like in my age,
Yeah.
where it's like
Mm.
I'm just gonna give up on this man thing and I'm just gonna go get some sperm and have a baby. And I think
Yeah, I've seen that.
because we have glamorized single motherhood and
I don't think we have.
I think we have. I don't think
As a
I don't think
society.
people are really understand the nuance and the fatigue and the stress and the mental exhaustion. I mean, just last week the Surgeon General said that being a parent is a health hazard.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not. The Surgeon General just said that being a parent is a risk to your health.
So I need benefit.
You know,
Is
and
it based on how many kids you have? Because I need three amounts of benefits.
so I see these people now, getting a donor, get pregnant, just even the support that you hope you will get from a partner
Right.
doesn't exist there. Um, then they have the child, and now they're dealing with the stress of single motherhood. And the thing about when you use donor sperm is,
Hmm.
even whether the father wants to be present or not,
Right.
oftentimes and not, the family might still show up. You don't even have that
Right.
to balance out what you need from your family, like what
Right.
you receive from your family. And so a lot of them are stressed out,
Of course.
and a lot of them, I think, did it because they're looking for love and they think that this is a place where it's unconditional. But that can be so nuanced. It can be so
Girl.
nuanced. So,
It and what the scary part about it is that your child's emotional intelligence is heavily reliant on your own. And if you're in a place of stress and inundation and anxiety and feeling like you're having a hard time, you're already pouring in traumatic experiences to this child, and they will live and manifest that for a lifetime.
mhm.
And so if you're not ready and you are at your best, and we're going to talk about for you Now you're living this lifestyle from a health perspective of just living your best, feeling your best. If you are not there, moms, where you're healthy, you're living your best, you're feeding your body what it needs, mentally you're getting the support that you need, you are literally creating a child who unfortunately has this imprint of lots of anxiety and negativity because it's from you, both in vitro while they're brewing and as you raise them, because it's constant yelling and fussing and running about, because as a mom and you don't have resources, you get frustrated and your kid is going to get the brunt of that. And I've seen it. I thank God my kids for the most part were in a two-parent household, and so I had the help and support that I needed and that they needed and that they deserved, of course. I grew up in a single parent household by default. My father passed away, so not my mom's fault or issue, but he passed away. And so I've seen how difficult it is. And a lot of moms aren't even present because they're so busy trying to take care of that child that they can't even be present in the child's life. So it's so many oxymorons to it, and I don't recommend it for most. I'm not saying that people can't do it, but it's hard enough, and I have support, I have family, I have a village, and it's still not easy.
It,
And so that'll be my two-piece,
I
child.
want to add too, it's not just your family, it's just it creating the pressure. Like we need to call out the medical system. Like these
Yeah.
gynecologists nowadays are trash. They're straight trash. Like a woman
Listen.
in their 30s and we're like, if you don't get pregnant now, you're not gonna have no babies in the future. Like and
Right.
and instead of and I'm just like, so then I've seen women then lead with that, where everyone they meet they're trying to make their partner that partner so that they can
Right.
because their gynecologist the OB was like, oh, like you're too old, and you can't have a viable pregnancy, and no one's
Right.
talking
Right. Tick, tick, tick.
preventative measures. No one's, and they get in these whack ass relationships because they, they want to fulfill, inherently, a lot of us want to be mothers, but then
Yeah.
go in. I always say never do things out of desperation. We go in desperate, and so the red
Yeah.
flags aren't red. They're hazy. We don't see them until they're
They pink. They're like, oh, that's
yeah.
pretty. We're like, no, girl, it's red. Run.
Yeah, and the thing is, I tell people, marriage is not a life sentence. Having children with someone is a life sentence.
That is. That
It's a
is.
life sentence.
That is.
Whether you want to be with them or not, you are forever connected to them because of that child. I can
Mm-hmm.
speak to it because of with my mom and dad. They found out they were pregnant
Right.
with me after they broke up, and my dad broke up with her because of her mental illness, and he didn't want to be
Oh
connected
no.
to someone because he was stressed out because of her mental illness.
Right.
Fast
Right. Right.
forward,
Right.
guess who still has to deal with her mental illness? My dad, because I'll call him crying, like, "Oh no, I'm
Right.
doing this. Oh, I'm so stressed," Um,
And now he's got to get involved on behalf of you. So it's just
or
it's it's tough. But
he
I
has
want.
to deal with me, because my mom's remarried, but he's
Mm,
still dealing with it because of
yeah.
me.
By way of you.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, because it's in you now also, and it'll manifest differently. But you had to take on the brunt of that. So I'm such a therapy buff. Like we have so much to work out, and so ladies, for those of you who are feeling like you're in a place where all you can think about is finding a partner and getting this family, just we go see somebody and work out some stuff first, because you're going to pull in whatever you didn't work out into this next life, into this next relationship, and you're probably not doing yourself and these people, you're going to be doing them a disservice. So I can literally speak on that for myself. Therapy is beautiful. So all right, but before we run out a little bit of time, tell me about how you have now created a beautiful vegan life that you have been living for over, I want to say, 20 years, as a beautiful Black woman with gorgeous chocolate skin. Because a lot of Black women, I think the vegan movement is developing in this community. And maybe I'm not giving it credence. It might have even started in the Black community, African roots, most likely. But tell me a little bit about how you now like it raw and why, how you got there.
I was a vegan. I didn't come here because I didn't like meat. I came here because of my health conditions.
Yeah.
After being diagnosed with my pituitary tumor, I was also diagnosed with PCOS at 12,
Mm.
which is also a very rare time in life.
At for 12. Oh
Yeah, but
Lord.
you know what? I was privileged because we had really good insurance, and that's why I was able to get all
Good.
of these things diagnosed. Then I was also diagnosed with a autoimmune disorder called scleroderma, and
Mm.
so for a decade I was BFFs with my gyno and my endocrinologist and my neurologists and all of these
Mm.
things. But I always had this question of, was there an alternative way to approach addressing the symptoms of those things? And so
Right.
in college, I did some research and opted to take on a holistic lifestyle. And part of that was going plant based vegan,
Mm.
more raw foods, detoxification, yoga. And here I am 23 years later. And I
Congratulations, girl. Because I be looking at raw food like, okay, maybe once a week.
you can make a lot of good stuff. I'm not exclusively raw. I'm high raw
Okay.
typically on most days.
Okay.
But I really do believe food is medicine. And when it comes to
Yeah.
things like what I'm addressing, a lot of the health disparities that we see in the Black community, a plant forward diet can be very
Mm.
helpful. So that means that you eat
Of
more
course.
plants than not. You want to incorporate more color. The goal is to have 30 different plants in the week, and that's going to
Mm.
be a way to just maintain the health. And there's studies around that.
Of course.
So yeah,
I love that. I think you're making it so digestible. You talk about 30 plants in a week. So if you break it down, there's 7 days. You're talking about maybe four different ones in a day. Like, let's get to the nitty gritty, right? Let's make it bite sized. And I'm thinking about the plants that maybe you would consume on a daily basis. You could do a spinach smoothie. And I saw on Instagram, you were like, you got to switch up your greens in the
yeah,
smoothies. So that was great information. Thank you. I didn't know that.
yeah.
So
Sometimes we eat.
tell me about that.
So here's the key, right? Like when we see specific colors, that is an indicator that there's high value of a specific mineral or vitamin, but too much of a good
Hmm.
thing can get in the way. So oftentimes a lot of
Yes.
greens some greens are associated with high oxalates, and that can get in the way of your absorption of iron. And typically when people hear
Mm.
that they're anemic, what do? Spinach, spinach.
Load up on spinach. Right, because that's what I did.
And but that then can also, you can increase your iron, but you're also increasing the oxalates that are present there, and that's going to get in the way of that absorption. But if
Gotcha.
you rotate your greens, then not all greens are high in oxalates, and then that'll allow
Mm.
you to absorb it better. And in the presence of vitamin C, so adding things like peppers if you're sauteing your spinach,
Mhm.
or adding
Yes.
something like a banana, which is also high in vitamin C, but a lot of people don't know that, to your smoothie.
Right.
Uh,
Wow.
those things will then help you improve your absorption
Absorb.
of
Exactly.
of that. So
Okay.
yeah.
I love it. Yeah. So, I mean, we can make it easy. So, now tell folks as we sort of wrap up, what would you suggest if people are looking to get into a more vegan lifestyle or vegan forward lifestyle? What are your pieces of advice that you would share for them?
I would say pick. It's so funny. I just did a plan on this. Pick a time of day that you're going to have plant forward. So maybe that week
Okay.
all your breakfasts are going to be vegan, or
Hmm.
all your lunch is going to be vegan. And sometimes it's just finding out what those substitutions are. I think that's the easiest way. Before you start looking at new recipes, look at the recipes that are already your go-to and what you would need to
Mm.
substitute in that recipe to make it vegan. Um,
Nice.
then I would say get you some good cookbooks. Uh,
Mm.
Great cookbooks and get you some vegan friends. Not people who've been
Mm.
vegan for 2, 3 years
Or 2 days.
or 2 days. I saw a girl. She went vegan in January. In November, she was trying to sell a vegan plan. In February the next year, she wasn't vegan no more. No,
She was like, I'm back to oxtails. You're like,
no.
oxtails.
I mean, like that's not who you can go to for advice because they don't know how
Right,
to make it sustainable. You want to find someone
right.
who's been plant-based vegan for 10 years because they've made the mistakes. They've troubleshooted the lifestyle to make us sustainable. Because usually in that 2 to 3 year mark, a lot of people are still, if they did it, a lot of people are still junk food vegans, right? I think
Yeah.
that being vegan means that you're healthy, and that's not true. You can be vegan and
Right.
have heart attack, high blood pressure, diabetes.
Yeah, because people load up on
Yeah,
carbs. That's what I
load
see
it up.
vegans do.
So you want someone who is trying to who's been in it for about 10 plus years to offer you
Mm,
advice, because they'll tell you what the go-to places are and all those things. Um,
gotcha.
and there are also amazing groups out there. Happy Cow is one of
Mm,
my favorite apps because I do travel
okay.
a lot. And you have to have a prep kit because honestly, I know online makes it seem like everywhere is a vegan option, but that is not the case. Even when
Right.
you're traveling abroad, like I have a
Mm,
vegan, my vegan prep kit where I have a portable tea kettle, I have a rechargeable blender. There's certain things I bring
mm,
so that I won't be there starving. Because oftentimes, if you fail to prepare, you end up then having to eat things that you committed to not eating. So
exactly. Exactly. Right. You fail to plan and you plan to fail, right? Is what they usually say. So then, since they don't have a vegan bestie like I do, that's you, where can they find you?
I like it raw.
Okay.
.com or yes, I like
Okay.
it raw on IG. I do have some specials out. I have the ultimate plant-based vegan bundle.
Oh,
It's got 14 different meal plans, um, 7 day long meal plans for $30.
nice. Not bad. Okay. So they can find that
Yeah,
on
and
your website. Yes,
yeah,
baby, I like it raw
meal
or
plans there,
Instagram.
everything. Yeah, so if they go to yesbabyilikeItraw.com, they can find that bundle. I also have a raw bundle as well. I have recipes on my
Mm,
website. I do free cooking classes if you're in South Florida. I'm partnered with some municipalities, and they sponsor the class, so it's free and open to the public. And I also do some stuff
love it.
online. I share recipes online as well. And if you ask me a
Love
question,
it.
I'm always open to offering suggestions and things like that. Because again,
Love it.
I went vegan in 2001. There were
Mm.
a lot of things that not were not cheese. There was no good cheese then.
You like that was 20 years ago, back when.
Yeah, 3 years ago was a lot different than now. So
Right. I love it. I love it. Well, congratulations on your beautiful journey from, not knowing what was wrong with you as a young 12-year-old girl to really formulating a lifestyle that supports, both your mind, body, and spirit, which I think is a beautiful thing. And so I'd love to have you back because we didn't even talk about yoga.
I
We
know.
didn't talk
Have me
about,
back.
listen,
Hey, let's do a part two.
yeah, absolutely. I'm down if you
I'm
down.
down. I
Let's
have more
ride. Let's,
Kushae stories.
yeah. And so do I. So, but we are going to keep everybody hanging, y'all. So definitely tune in for part two with Miss Nzinga. And yes, baby, I like it raw. It was a pleasure to have you, my love.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to tell everybody goodbye. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. So hang in the studio. Bye, everybody. Take care. And this is another amazing episode of Kushae Chronicles. See you next time.